Your boy and Guru in the house, back with another bang on video. Well, ladies and gentlemen, unbelievable news for you guys. But first, let me give you a disclaimer for those people who feel betrayed about the clickbaits that's been happening with the thumbnail. My friends, please understand the thumbnail is just to grab your attention about the news which is actually there in the thumbnail. But if you believe that you've been betrayed, and after watching this video, you have every right to never come back to this platform. You have every right to do that. But if you're judging this channel just on the basis of a thumbnail, I'm so sorry, you don't belong here as well, because I think this channel is a complete picture in the way that it has been developed from a lot of time, the hard work that goes into getting all the news that comes everywhere in the social media, and it takes hell lot of efforts to create a video like this. So please, guys, if you guys believe in me, then only watch the video. If you don't, you can always leave this platform. I really not mind it, because I will completely understand your priority, but you need to understand that all the transfer news happens only in the transfer window when the transfer window opens. So, without any further ado, the first news comes our way. Ali McCoy's hopes former Rangers star Miguel Arteta will swoop for Celtic star Odsonne Edward, so his old club can finally win the Scottish title. He says, the telltale sign, I'm reading a few of the Celtic boys and they are coming out and asking him not to move, to wait another year. No way. I'm clearly of the opposite opinion. Get him away. And if he goes to Leicester or Arsenal, I'll tell you what, they will be getting a right top player. Well, moving on. Well, here's the biggest news. Tottenham have borrowed £175 million from Bank of England to ease financial pressure amid the COVID-19 crisis. Well, these are the terms and conditions of the loan. 0.5% interest loan, fully repayable, not for transfers. And Tottenham Hotspur FC estimate £200 million loss, and the community work continues, and that is the biggest reason why they do not want to have a financial crunch. So you can understand the whole thing, that if Tottenham have to borrow that much amount of money, you need to understand the whole scenario. The whole situation is really damn serious. Well, Premier League shareholders meeting has finished. 5 substitutes rule change has been approved, and that has been unbelievable. Well, moving on. Well, Thomas Partey's move to Arsenal is more likely an imminent one, because it is exclusively confirmed that Partey in the next few days will make his future clear as he prepares to move to England. Arsenal are not giving up on signing the player, and I only have to cough up the money of his release clause. Well, Lucas Herrera is fit and he's already in the gym and he's doing all intense sessions, and you guys can actually see that in the image below. Well, moving on. Antonio Conte is not completely against the sale of his star striker if a replacement is bought, and Aubameyang is on the short list of 2 alongside Edinson Cavani as players he sees capable of coming in and making an instant impact if Lautaro Martinez moves to Barcelona. PM Aubameyang remains Barcelona's imperfect plan B as well, as they prepare for Luis Suarez's departure. But if they land a £98 million top target Lautaro Martinez, the Arsenal striker could find a new home at Inter Milan. His age means he's not a perfect alternative, but if Arsenal are prepared to sell him for less than £18 million, then he begins to look far more attractive. There are few doubts over the soon-to-be 31-year-old's ability. He scored at the No Camp in a preseason friendly last August. Well, moving on. Well, talking about the loan about Tottenham, well, low interest loan from Bank of England will help offset £200 million loss of income during the pandemic. The loan will be repaid in full and won't be spent on player transfers, and that has been agreed upon. So it's pretty much clear that Tottenham are in deep waters. I hope they recover from it. Well, moving on. Well, 5 substitutions will be allowed in games when the Premier League resumes on June 17th, while it was also approved for clubs to increase the maximum number of substitute players on the bench from 7 to 9 for the rest of the 2019-2020 campaign. Well, moving on. Teams will be limited to 3 opportunities during matches to make their substitutions, as well as half-time, in a bid to prevent unnecessary stoppages between the games. That's fair enough as well. Well, moving on. Mohamed Palau has spoken about Thomas Partey. He's advised Thomas Partey some good lessons. He says, I want Partey to weigh himself because he has the platform. He is the main architect of and knows his strength. So if he thinks a move to Arsenal will help him, so be it. It's difficult playing for some clubs. The expectations at some clubs is very huge. We should consider and join a club with less pressure. I think there is no pressure at Atletico Madrid, because if they don't qualify for Europe, supporters will not lambast the players. But when you play for teams like Arsenal, Manchester United, Real Madrid and other top clubs, and you don't perform, they will always distract you, and that is why I'm asking to weigh himself well if he can really play for Arsenal or not. Well, good advice. I must say good advice. Well, it's up to Thomas Partey now and Arsenal to cough up that much amount of money. Well, moving on. Top flight clubs avoided a vote but effectively kicked the can down the road if a second wave of coronavirus kicks in. While there remains a split over what should happen if the season is curtailed by a second outbreak of COVID-19, the clubs opted to avoid a spat, and rather than pit the divisive issue to a vote, the teams took a position that it was not necessary to fight over a situation that may never actually arise, and an agreement was reached that the debate will only be reopened if the season is forced into stopping for a second time. That's done and dusted for now. Well, Premier League clubs have again put off a decision on what to do if the restarted league cannot be completed. So let's see. Arsenal are still suffering from poor decision making, according to Charlie Nicholas. He says Arsenal have been buying wrong and the players have realized they're not a threat to the Premier League and the Champions League. I don't think they have an identity problem. The reality is, for years and years, even under Arsene Wenger, we sold Patrick Vieira, we sold Thierry Henry, and most of our big players. There was nothing wrong with change, but we sold them quite young, while we weren't perhaps going to get the full benefit of them. We let Aaron Ramsey's contract run down at the age of 28. We let him leave for nothing. We've had a problem at the top level for a long time. It goes as far as back as David Dean not being present anymore. We have a problem identifying the players, and then what we did was start paying 30 million for Scotland Mustafi and defenders who may have not cut it for Arsenal. So it was a very scathing attack, and I completely agree with him. I just don't believe that Arsenal still have the capacity. But let's see. We all believe in Arteta, do we? What else? What other option do we have? Well, Lassana Kamara. Well, he is a very renowned journalist and much of a reliable journalist. He has actually said that the Ghanaian midfielder Thomas Partey would be willing to engage with Arsenal, and that is going to be huge because that's unbelievable. I mean, he's a reliable news for regarding African football in general. So let's see how things will turn out. And moving on. Well, players may be at an increased risk of injury as professional sports rush back into action following the coronavirus stoppage. A global union representing 85,000 athletes said on Thursday. Well, it was said that many players will not have had access to the necessary training methods to ensure that they have the necessary fitness and conditioning to compete, said the World Players Association, WPA. Well, Adidas have unveiled Arsenal's collection of 2020-2021 training wear on their website. The new range consists of a new training top and training pants, as well as Gunners sweatshirt and sweatpants. All 4 items of clothing feature unique Gunners related characteristics, even though some items are not in the traditional red that you would usually associate with the Emirates Stadium Club. But you can see for yourself how beautiful this is. Well, moving on. Ricky J. Jones, ladies and gentlemen, Peterborough United youngster, has sparked a potential transfer battle this summer with 3 Premier League clubs vying for his signature. Manchester United, Arsenal and Liverpool have shown interest and registered their interest in the 17-year-old. Let's see who will finally, get his hands on them. Well, Juventus are ready to swoop to sign, they would want to give Federico Bernardeschi and Nicola Zaniolo in terms of a swap deal. Well, they would want Zaniolo to come to Juventus and Roma would get Federico Bernardeschi. Well, that is actually ruining all of Arsenal's plans in terms of getting Federico Bernardeschi and actually letting Justin Kluivert life kind of a situation for Mkhitaryan. Well, these were the news of the day. I hope you enjoyed whatever came your way. All the views and news and everything about Arsenal on this platform every single day, twice. So please subscribe and hit that bell icon. If you do that, you get 2 videos about Arsenal every single day of all the analysis and of all the complete news. I will see you in my next video. Until then, please help us reach 5,000 subscribers. Don't forget to subscribe.